Hello everybody, Tracy Sizemore here, RPG A Day 2018, Day 12. It is Sunday, and I'm actually not here right now. I am currently in LA, and so I have pre-recorded this. And this dovetails nicely into one of the characters that I'm going to showcase today. I'm going to K-Con, which is a Korean con, which is really all about K-pop and K-drama, and I'm a big K-pop fan, so I'm going to go to K-Con in LA, and that's where I am as we speak. So, wildest character concept. Now, at first, that's the question of the day, wildest character concept. At first I had trouble coming up with I don't really have very many wild character concepts. I don't know, I can't think of any. And so I was really considering doing another alternate question. But actually, I do. I think I do. In a couple of different respects. So not only do I have one, I have three here, so I'm going to try, I promise, I'll try to get through this fairly quickly. But I love them all, so I'm just gonna highlight them all. And so my segue from K-pop, being a K-pop fan, into RPGs and wildest character concepts, I'll start with the Bubble Pop Princess. Bubble Pop Princess is the main enemy in my game Teen Crush, both in the campaign and the one-shot game. She is a K-pop diva, and she has a gang, a girl group called the Bubble Pop Gang, and so they do subversive K-pop videos. That's their thing. Their whole thing is to cause confusion and create anarchy and motivate other villains to do things by being subversive and spreading their videos over the airwaves without permission. But they also have powers, and they also do their own things. They're not generally like bank robbers or anything like that, but the main villain in Teen Crush, the one-shot, is a former protege of Captain Crush, who I've mentioned before. And she is the one who kidnaps him and masterminds this whole thing where they can weaken him so he's not cosmically powerful when they take him and stuff like that, causing Teen Crush to have to rescue him. But, wildest character concept. She's definitely one of them. And she's the Bubble Pop Princess. Her name is Nari Park. She's a small Korean girl, and some of her powers include her magic wand, which is just a straight attack range power. So she carries this magic wand around, and she points it at people, and it blasts them with some kind of, sparkly pink energy. And then she has deflection, and the trapping for that is she's all sparkly. So she's got this sort of sparkle field around her that makes her more difficult to hit from range. So that's part of her, she's a Bubble Pop Princess. She's got sparkly pink aura around her that makes her hard to hit with a gun. And she's got sticky bubble gum because she's the Bubble Pop Princess. So with her gums, which she chews, and she's a little bit bratty and stuff like that. She can blow her gum up into a bubble and then have it explode, and it becomes an ensnare, which it blows up in your face and covers you with, bubble gum, and then you're stuck and can't get out. This is a superpower she has. Along with that, her bubble gum can be used to explode. So she can blow a big bubble. It takes a turn to charge. And if anybody who happens to be around her when her bubble explodes, it takes a lot of damage. And she's also got +1 to her parry, which means that she's harder to hit with a melee weapon, like harder to hit with your fist or harder to hit with a club or whatever you might have. And that trapping is K-pop spastic, because she's a dancer. So she's able to deflect and harder to hit in melee range because she's K-pop spastic. That is the name of the power. And then finally she has a perfume spray. So she can whip that out and spray it in your face or spray it toward a group of people, and that creates a stun power. So, and it's selective, that's the best part. So she can have her Bubble Pop minions around, and in a group with PCs, she can spray her perfume spray, and it will only affect the PCs because of course her Bubble Pop minions are used to the smell of this perfume. So it's a selective thing, so only the PCs are affected by it. And it, you know, covers an area of an effect. So that's one of my silliest and wildest character concepts. And I love her so much, just as I do K-pop. Another one is from the same one-shot, it's on the other side. So one of the pre-generated characters for the PCs, his or her name is Soul Sprite, or their name is Soul Sprite. And the concept there is that this, when Soul Sprite was little, they went into a little glade inside of a park, and they encountered this little fairy. And the fairy was not benevolent, and instead tried to use this terrible magic to forcibly extract a ball of blinding white light from Soul Sprite's body. And that ball of blinding bright light ended up being a piece of Soul Sprite's soul, which Soul Sprite could then, because it had been extracted from them, they could use it as a weapon. And so part of the concept of Teen Crush is that your teenage super's learning your powers. And so Captain Crush helped Soul Sprite to manifest this in a way that was useful and use the piece of their soul to do things. And so Soul Sprite can do lots of stuff, and it became a soul whip is what it became. So it's this blinding bright, whip made out of basically almost lightning light, but it's actually a piece of Soul Sprite's soul. So there's a couple of things to do with that. So Soul Sprite can use their whip as just a straight ranged attack. They can use it as a negation attack to negate other people's strength or skills and stuff like that, or a stun attack. But also Soul Sprite can shrink and grow wings because it was imbued by some of the powers that the fairy had when they did this magic on them. But this ties in with a previous talk about Teen Crush, is Soul Sprite is the one that's doomed. Because their partial soul has been sort of taken out of them, they're doomed to die eventually. So each session you start by pulling a card off the top of the initiative deck, which is just a basic deck of cards. And if you pull a joker, then Soul Sprite is going to die this session. So in a one-shot, that can be fun. I always give the option to the player to play that or not. So if they don't want to play the Doomed Hindrance, they don't have to. But if they do, we'll draw from the top of the deck, and if it's a joker, they'll die that turn. Or I'll even just give them the option to say, hey, do you want to do something super heroic? And since you're doomed, do you want to die doing it? And some people will take that option. So it just depends. Anyway, Soul Sprite is one of the wilder character concepts that I sort of came up with. And in addition to that, because Soul Sprite is partially soulless, they have a fear power. So whenever people who have a soul see Soul Sprite, they have to check their fear. There's something about Soul Sprite that scares them. Like Really scares them. So that's Soul Sprite. Finally, and this might be my favorite, is a pre-generated character I made for one of my Han Cluster adventures. And Han Cluster is my own sci-fi setting that I'm working on and eventually will hope to get published. Well, it's up to me. I'm going to either publish it or I'm not. The plan is to publish it. So it's going to take a little while longer, but I'm working on it. But one of the pre-generated characters for a specific adventure in my sci-fi setting is called Sally Smiles. And Sally Smiles is a sentient synthetic grifter. And her whole deal is that she looks human, and not only looks human, but is biocamouflaged as human, meaning that she's almost a Cylon, in that it's very difficult to tell that she is a sentient machine. Very difficult. Like, it would take a doctor's examination and a doctor who really knew what they were doing in order to see it. Except if she takes a wound or damage, then it sort of becomes obvious. So she's not full Cylon, but she's, you know, biocamouflaged to the point where it's very difficult to tell her apart from a human. But also, but what makes her interesting to me is that she's not malevolent. Most sci-fi settings in the world these days assume that AIs, given AIs unchecked, will turn against humans. That's the conceit. That is generally the conceit. And I sort of rebel against that conceit. In Han Cluster, the artificial machines have a formative influence in humanity. And so it's just as valid, I think, to conceive of artificial machines, sentient machines, or sapient machines, as not necessarily hostile to humans, but as partners to humans. And to have them just come to that conclusion on their own, and to make them maybe part of their sapience is to have some of the human irrationality. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have artificial intelligence that's pure logic and then draw conclusions based on that. I sort of go that artificial intelligence can manifest irrationality, emotionality, and make decisions that are based in something other than logic. And I want to explore that concept. So Sally Smiles is a way to explore that concept. And she is a sentient synthetic grifter. She's biocamouflaged as human. And in the adventure, the other PCs, the other characters, do not know that she is a sentient AI, a machine. The players do, because I think it's important in this particular context to let the players know that she is a sapient machine, but I don't want their characters to know. And there's a reason for that, because if you don't tell the players and only tell the player of that particular character that she's a sapient machine, the game becomes about discovering that she's a sapient machine, and that's not what the game is about. So I want the players to know so that they can play off of it, because the whole game is about discovering or going onto a planet where a colony of machines are malfunctioning, and they may be exhibiting signs of artificial intelligence. And so having a sentient AI with the group that's sort of clandestine, the other people in the party don't know that she's a machine, can add to the tension and development of what they find on the surface of this planet, meaning a colony of machines that may or may not be artificially intelligent. And I don't want to spoil what happens there, but suffice it to say that Sally becomes an interesting dynamic in what happens. But she is a fun-loving, out for the fun of it kind of character. She's like, I've never been to this planet before. It's super dangerous. I happen to have a ship. And she's a grifter. So she's really good at faking things. And she's a fate character. Fate core is what I ran this in. And so one of her stunts is fake it till you make it, which means that like 3 times per session you can use deceive instead of any other skill when attempting to perpetuate a lie about your abilities. And her deceive skill is super high. And if her lie is discovered, or if you fail in an attempt to fake it till you make it, your lie is discovered. So she has to choose, like she's ostensibly a good pilot because she's been hired for this job because of her ship and she's the pilot of a captain of her own ship. But in reality, her pilot skill is only a 1 out of possible 4. And that's not very good at all. In fact, other characters within the party have a better piloting skill than she does. But she has fake it till you make it, which means she can use deceive to pretend she's a great pilot. And by pretending to be one, she is one. But she can only do that so many times. And so it's really a fun dynamic with that idea of not only is she faking it, not only is she a grifter, she's a fun-loving grifter. She's not out to hurt people or steal from people. She's out to have fun. And she's a sentient machine, which means she's got more impetus than others to hide who she is from other people. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on there in the context of just, and there's more in terms of the interaction between the characters, PCs themselves, besides just Sally Smiles. But Sally adds a very interesting dynamic to the whole thing. And then you add on to that the adventure itself, which ties in with some of these themes. And Sally is one of my favorite characters that I've ever made for a one-shot. And people who play Sally, they all bring something different to that character, and I've really loved seeing what happens there. So, anyway, those are 3 of my wildest character concepts, and I'll stop there and spare you anything else. But I'm surprised because I thought when I first sat down, I thought, oh man, I don't have very many wild characters. But turns out I do actually. Okay, well, I will talk to you tomorrow. And I'll be back from KCON then.